Hello everyone and welcome back to another session of Elden Ring PvP and another weapon showcase. Today we're taking a look at the Magma Blade. This is a weapon that you get from killing the Man-serpents in the Volcano Manor who wield it, and unfortunately the only way to get this weapon is by farming it. Good luck, you'll need it. The weapon itself requires 9 strength, 15 dexterity, and 16 faith to wield, and it weighs 4 units, making it one of the heavier curved swords. The skill of the weapon is Magma Shower, and you are unable to change that, but that's okay. I feel like the skill is pretty darn good. The end of the last fight really shows the reason why. At plus 10, the weapon has a physical base damage of 235 and a fire base damage of 151. It has a C scaling in strength, a D scaling in dexterity, and a C scaling in faith. With that said, I believe that this is unique among all curved swords that From Software has given us to this point. I don't believe we've had a curved sword that scales with strength and faith up till now, so that's pretty neat. That said, getting started with the pros of the weapon. Because it is a curved sword, it has all of the standard curved sword pros. That would include its running attacks, both one-handed and two-handed, running R1 and running R2, being good at chasing people down, and being good at roll catching. The running R1s are going to be better at chasing people down than the running R2s. The running R2s, you sacrifice a bit of distance and speed in favor of damage, but they're still good at getting people with the running attack because if you see someone start to change the direction they're moving, for example, if they're backpedaling and suddenly they start to move forward, or if they roll forward or to the side, go for a running R2 instead, because that will actually have better timing for it, and it'll deal a little bit more damage if you clip them while they're doing that. So keep that in mind, it's worthwhile to do. Aside from that, you've got your backstep R1s. Those are also good at chasing people down, especially if you do a ravioli step. It's a good little mix-up to have, and does an okay amount of damage. It seems to do less than the standard running R1. I would have to check the motion values to verify that, but if I'm not mistaken, it does do less damage. Aside from that, the R2 has the cancel that you can do by, well, hitting circle on a PlayStation controller to cancel the attack, and when you do that, you can follow that up with a R1 as well, and that, again, is another good attack, a good mix-up to have, that is good at chasing people down. So overall, the weapon is a very good weapon for being aggressive against your opponents. And with that said, therein lies the skill. When you are aggressive with your opponent while using this weapon, you might notice that they get up in your face as well, and they start to, run up against you, and maybe when you are against them, right up to them face to face, they'll start to try and circle around behind you, or roll to your side, or roll behind you. And if you catch your opponent trying to do that, use your skill. Magma Shower will cause you to spin in a circle a handful of times and just leave magma on the ground. That's a really good skill to have for when your opponent does stay close to you. That leads to a good amount of damage building up, and the magma on the ground can act as a deterrent as well, so after you do have your bout of aggression against your opponent, that magma on the ground will cause them to run away because they don't want to be hit with the area of effect that you've left on the ground. So that can lead them to move away from you to let you regain your stamina. Or you could take advantage of that if you are casting, and you can use that to cast spells at your opponent. Basically, it is good for a bit of zoning and damage at the same time, and that's a phenomenal thing to have. It's really great in that manner because it gives you options on how you use it. It's good for casters and non-casters alike, but for different reasons. And with that as well, it's also good for different playstyles, the more aggressive playstyle and the more passive playstyle. So overall, I think it's a great skill for this weapon to have because there's a number of ways that you can use it. And that's a good thing. Weapons that can perform well among different playstyles are phenomenal because if you alternate between those playstyles yourself as you're using the weapon, that makes you harder to predict, and throwing that extra randomness, so to speak, from your opponent's point of view at least, into the way you play, can just be another good way to mix it up and keep your opponent on their toes. So that's something that this weapon does a great job with. It's something curved swords in general in this game can do a great job with, but I think Magma Shower really takes that to the next level, so that's a good thing. That said, there are a couple of cons to the weapon. First and foremost, it's a curved sword, so it is a bit short. You need to be either very aggressive with it, or you need to be very passive with it. It's not really going to do well if you try and play middle of the road with that. It's got to be full bore, one or the other, and that's not a bad thing. It really does do a good job, especially if you can flip the switch going from one to the other, like I said. That really makes this weapon shine. That said, another big con to the weapon is that it does have split damage with fire. So with fire damage, it is the objectively worst damage type in the game because when it rains, well, it pours, I guess, and your damage gets worse because fire damage and rain don't mix well. Lightning being the best between split damage types would be much better, and with this being a faith-based weapon, lightning or holy would be better for it to have, but even still, with it being fire, it still performs very well because it's not split evenly between physical and fire. It's more heavily leaning on the physical side. So even when it is raining, you can still stack up the damage incredibly well, and with the skill of the weapon, well, even if it's raining, don't underestimate it, because it can do an immense amount of damage very quickly, and that's a good thing. So, it is what it is. It's a fun weapon to use. I'd recommend it to a friend. I'd recommend it to you guys. I'd recommend it to anyone who wants to try it out on a strength faith build. So, that's that. That all said, this is the last fight in the video against the Godric Soldier. A fun fellow to fight. I always enjoy seeing him. Anyway, thank you all for stopping by. If you've enjoyed this one, please do all the YouTube things, like, subscribe, leave a comment, do all that stuff, and feed the algorithm for me. I appreciate it. That all said, that's all I've got. So thank you again for stopping by, and I'll see you all next time.